capitalism, all of the gains in automation, it goes to the owner class. All you have to do is have everyone be an owner, and now suddenly any gain in automation is a gain for everybody. If you grow just one thing, it may not grow as well as if it grows with another thing. A good example of that is called the Three Sisters method of farming.
There is definitely multi-apartment buildings or multi-families that do passive design.
$100 million that they gave to Joe Rogan that they would kind of be out if they breach contract. Is that a bigger number? Or is 2 billion a bigger number?
I don't know,
It's
Zach.
a tough one, I
It's
know.
really hard.
And maybe
Yes.
comparing numbers is not Jeremy's strong suit. Gotta go kill a Jenny.
I still don't think you should kill her. I don't think it's a good idea.
It's a ghost, dude. Welcome back, everybody, to Bread Theory. So tonight we're going to be continuing on with The People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. We are on Chapter 5, Part 2 this week. And joining me tonight is Trisha from For We Are Many. How you doing tonight?
Hanging in there. How about you?
Okay. You may be hearing the whirring in the background, and I apologize for that in advance, but it is like 95 degrees with probably as much percent humidity right now, so I have to run the air.
Understood. Yeah, to be fair, it's actually quite quiet.
That's good. I hope it's not too disruptive.
Yeah, it's definitely not taking away from your audio at all, so good. Stay
Nice.
cool, bro.
I appreciate it. How are things down there? I'm sure they're even worse, huh?
Satan's anus.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
109 today.
109? Oh,
Yeah.
God. I thought 95 was bad.
It's fucking horrible. I mean,
That's horrible.
It's relatively lower, humidity, significantly lower humidity out here,
Oh, it's a dry heat.
Yeah.
That's what gets you through it.
Yep. The only thing that makes it remotely tolerable. It's actually so fucking dry I have to run a swamp cooler to put a little bit of humidity in the air to cool it off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Global warming's awesome. This is just great. And it's like, I think it hit 40 degrees Celsius in the UK today, which I know is really hot. I don't know have the exact translation into Fahrenheit, but it's just hitting everywhere right now.
I'd have to do too much math to convert that with the 9 because seatbelt's 32 shit right now, but it's fucking hot.
It's pretty hot.
I don't know if you saw those maps from NASA that Rob had shared in the For We Are Many group chat the other day, but
No, I did not.
It was comparing global temps right now with the global heat wave in like 1972, and on that one there was still areas that were blue. Just
Wow.
in certain areas. The one for right now, the whole goddamn world is wearing shades of red and orange on there.
Oh, jeez, I see that.
Heat wave.
What the hell is going on?
Fucking humans. Fucking corporations and militaries and all that. And they want to pretend like our tiny ass carbon footprints are really making a dent in anything, and nothing's going to change on the global warming scale unless we cut back on emissions from massive corporations and militaries.
Yeah.
They are responsible for the majority of it.
Yeah.
So, we may do to reduce our own carbon footprints. It ain't going to change shit without them changing their ways. And they're just steadily getting further deregulated. So,
Jeez, when is this map from? I gotta look at this 1 second here. I'll share that if it's the most recent one. Now this is from 2015. That was pretty bad too. Jeez.
God, it would take some digging to find the one that Robin popped in our group chat too. It was either yesterday or the day before. It was just a holy fuck moment, just even looking at those maps. Like, God damn.
Yeah. I bet.
Like, down here, we have basically been in a massive heat wave since fucking March, bro. We were getting triple digits in March. It's fucking stupid. It's part of why I came up in the mountains, because it's worse down there in the valley. It's, usually between 115 and 120 this time of year down there. Fucking alone.
Jeez.
Yeah, there's a reason why I call Phoenix Satan's fucking anus.
Oh yeah.
The rim here of the mountains, that's just the sphincter. It's just slightly cooler and a little bit more moist.
Wow. Here's a good one to share. I'm gonna share it real quick. There we go. Here's like a little dashboard of climate change right now. Carbon dioxide up to 419 parts per million. There's a climate change action group that's called I think it's called 350, right? It's Bill McKibben's group.
I think so. If I remember right, yeah.
350.org. And
Yeah.
and they picked that number 350 because at 350 parts per million, that's past the tipping point where there's going to be climate damage no matter what happens. So we are at 419 at this point. So significantly above that. Global temperatures up 1 degree Celsius since 1880. Arctic sea ice is down 13% per decade since 1979. Ocean heat added. I don't even how to. I don't know how to conceive of a zettajoule, but it's up 337 zettajoules since 1955. The sea level has risen 4 inches since January of 93, so just in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And the ice sheet is down 427 billion metric tons per year.
Yep.
That's how much we're
Because
losing.
they're not just melting from the top down, they're from bottom up too, because these warmer ocean currents
Yeah.
are
True.
flowing up underneath of the ice
Yeah,
sheets.
it's pulling everything out. Yeah.
They're being melted from both fucking sides. It's horrendous what we've done to this planet. Absolutely fucking horrendous.
It's absolutely horrible. Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
a chunk of Antarctica broke off. More.
Yeah, a huge chunk of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Bye. Done.
so as if the global breakdown of the neoliberal experiment was not enough to deal with right now, we are also facing the potential non-survivability of a large portion of the human race in the next few decades. So, oh, you froze for just a second there, Trisha, but I think it's coming. I think your signal's coming back. Oh, it's going back down. Oh, and now we've lost her. Reset. Try it again.
Oh, there we go. Catch any of what you just said because you started going.
Oh no. Okay. So what I was saying was, if it wasn't bad enough that we're facing the wheels of the neoliberal experiment coming off and the whole thing crashing and burning all at the same time, our world is like literally on fire and only going to get worse in the coming decades, no matter if we stopped putting any CO2 in the air today. It would still take decades for things to come back to a new normal, if not hundreds or even thousands of years. So, oh, frozen again. Oh no, I guess we're gonna have connectivity issues. Dang. Well, I guess we're just going to soldier on at this point and check out tonight's sponsor. It's not really a sponsor. It's just a way for you to support the show. Check out Ouija bread. This is bread made by my wife Amanda. She's been baking other stuff too. So she got her monster cookies out. She did a really great blueberry cheesecake, coffee cake. That is. All right. Third try, third time. Hopefully that'll be the charm.
Fingers crossed. Fucking Wi-Fi
Yeah.
dropped off together this time, and I'm like, are you fucking serious?
That Wi-Fi, you gotta figure. Your park needs to figure their shit out. Like,
Yeah. Sad thing is, like, they have spent a lot of money on the Wi-Fi system here and have relays all over the campground, whole fucking 9 yards, and it still just was whatever the fuck this is. But
Yeah.
thankfully, I do have a new phone on the way in the mail. It'll be here Thursday, and I'm hoping that with that one not being a busted ass piece of fuck like this shattered shit, I'm hoping the new phone will actually hold a stronger hotspot signal so I can use that.
That'd be really
cases
cool.
like this. Yeah.
I sure hope so, because I feel so frustrated for you. I was having to reconnect.
Thank you. I appreciate the sentiment. It's frustrating as fuck.
Yeah, I can imagine. So we were just talking about Ouija bread, and Amanda's posted a couple of new pics recently. One of the blueberry cream cheese coffee cake. We got the best blueberries from our farmers market in St. Paul here, and they made they made for just a phenomenal, probably the best coffee cake I've ever had. And then just last night she made some monster cookies. Um, so yeah, if you wanna, we're not shipping any of those last two things yet, but we are shipping the bread out. So if you live in the U.S. or Canada, and you don't mind paying a bit in shipping, because these two tend to be hefty loaves here.
Yes.
This one here, that's probably a good 3-4 pounds, I believe, when all is said and done. So you get a fair amount of bread. You get a lot of bang for your buck, especially if you can slice it thin. But it does ends up costing about $10 per item shipped, and you can get a bulk rate. So if you want to get a few more at the same time, just be prepared that it's not going to be like buying a loaf of bread in the store. It's going to have some extra cost involved. And not to mention the fact that it takes her about an hour of time to make every loaf. So you got to factor in her labor too. So, but anyway, if you feel like getting some cool stuff and supporting the show, that's another thing that you can go and check out.
Right. And I am here right now to vouch for Amanda's bread. It is fucking delicious. Absolutely fucking delicious. Love it.
Yeah. Trisha was one of our first customers, and so was she. So it's been and she's frozen again. God damn. Oh, that sucks. Yo, wait, it's popped back in. I can hear you.
Signal.
No, now it's cutting out again already. Jeez. There we go. It's a weak signal. It's pretty intermittent. Well.
All right, maybe the fourth time's the charm?
I sure hope so. I sure hope so. All right. I'm going to go ahead and close as many tabs as I can just to see if that helps anything either. But before I close absolutely everything, I do want to give one more shout out to the event coming up this Friday. We're going to have a leftist karaoke night right here on this stream. It's going to be a live event only, so no recordings will be made, or at least none will be made available to the public, unless I can figure out how to do it without getting DMCA'd. But yeah, we're just gonna it's an open call. If you have a karaoke song that you like to sing, that a karaoke version appears on well, anywhere on the internet really, and you can connect to it and share it on this stream, then you can come on live and do your thing, sing your song. And it's just a way to have some fun, meet some new people, and kind of sing back against the darkness that is encroaching all around our country at this moment, and hold on to one another as we ride out into the dark. So I will post the link for that right now. So the link is a Facebook link because I had to have some place to create the event, but it will be taking place here on Twitch, and only on Twitch because that's the only way that it can work. That's the only one that's you're able to do live streaming and only live streaming without a recording. Let's see if I heard Trisha. I do not see Trisha yet. So anyway, this Friday, the 22nd, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. There's the link to the event. You can get your request in now. There is also... All right. Oh, and immediately it craps out again. That sucks. There is also a YouTube playlist that I have created. A bunch of stuff. So if you don't know what to sing, here's some suggestions for you. And yeah, using this restream, it should be real easy just to patch people in one at a time, or multiples at a time. You can always do duets. You can do group sings, kind of whatever you feel like, whatever makes you comfortable. There's a playlist you can check out, and it should be a good time. Nope, there goes Trisha again. I think we're just gonna have to start into the chapter and hope that something changes with her Wi-Fi. I feel so bad for her, but keeps just cutting out as soon as she gets back on. And she says she's right within the sight line of the relay, so there's no reason she shouldn't be getting Wi-Fi. So it's just very frustrating that it's not working. But maybe it's the heat. Who knows? Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if that somehow affects it and just makes everything harder. But yeah, let me close a bunch of tabs here. See if perhaps that'll help. Just so that this stream is not taking up so much bandwidth. 'Cause maybe that's part of the problem. I don't really know. But if she comes back, we'll let her back in, and we'll, if we're not too far, maybe we'll just restart from where we were at. So anyway, we had just left off at, we're right around the time of the Revolutionary War. So we're actually going into the Revolutionary War at this point in the U.S., and we're seeing what things were like for the average enlisted person and how that stacked up, and maybe was a preview of things to come post-revolution, of how things were going to be between the classes. So let's go back in. Howard Zinn, A People's History of the United States, Chapter 5, Part 2. We're at minute 28, almost 29 in the chapter, and that's where we will begin.
Tenants claiming some of this land for themselves, unable to get satisfaction in the courts, turned to
back up just a couple
estates
seconds.
in New York. Study of Dutch a national consensus, something that, even with the exclusion of ignored and oppressed people, could be called America. Stoutenlin's close study of Dutchess County, New York in the Revolutionary period corroborates this. There were tenant risings in 1766 against the huge feudal estates in New York.
So people were feeling the squeeze. It was not great to be basically a serf at that time. You didn't have anything extra. Everything went to your landlord, whether or not they had an official title from the crown, which I don't think they conferred any titles to U.S. holdings. I wouldn't think so. But now it looks like Trisha is back again.
Yeah.
See if this time will do.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed, man. Fuck, I had to call the office and have them reset the router.
Oh, awesome. Well, hopefully that'll do it. You're already coming through a lot more clearly, so let's hope that was it. And hello to James. You're coming in at a good time. We're just starting the chapter.
Hi, James.
So yeah, so you haven't missed anything, Trisha. I was just getting it going. But we're talking about right before the Revolutionary War in the U.S. Things were not great for these tenant farmers who basically owed everything to their more or less feudal lords on their huge estates who owned everything. And so, despite this being really terrible for them, this also was a way that those same people convinced them to fight against the crown as the I can hear you still for the most part. uh, oh yeah. I'll try once again.
Just call me Bloopy. I just keep blooping in and out of the fucking ether. Ah!
It feels like playing like an old school Nintendo game where like you think you're getting further and then you don't quite make that jump right and you're in the lava.
Right. That. I definitely feel that. Oh, man. It's funny because, like, no sooner than you were saying again.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and your image is frozen again. I can still hear you, but
Awesome expression up there.
yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna try and
This is fucking dumb. Oh my god.
jeez. Oh. Well.
Jeez. If this keeps fucking
Alright.
up, I will just exit here from.
Okay. Fair enough. There she goes again. Yeah.
Okay, I know you heard me a moment ago, but I said
I did hear you, so.
I will let here and just wait for my phone to take that. This is fucking Christmas. Fuck. Okay. Now, so I. Oh. Okay.
Oh. So we'll see if she can rejoin with her phone. So anyway, yeah, things were not great for these basically serfs of their time. Let's see if she's on the phone this time, perhaps.
Nope.
No, it's every other word. All right. I think she's going to try and rejoin with her phone. But anyway, things were not great for these serfs. And that pressure on them for any sort of change is not so different than I believe a lot of the people that ended up voting for Trump the first time round, maybe even the second time round, but certainly the first time. Probably the same sort of desperation that those people were feeling. A lot of those people, where they just wanted something different. You know, things sucked for them. Things were not going well in their lives, and they just needed something that was different. And Bernie would have been something that was different, because a lot of those people switched right from Bernie to Trump because both of them were viewed, for rightly or wrongly, as outsiders. I mean, Bernie, a career politician, but definitely his views were outside of the mainstream. Okay. Trying on the phone.
Yep. I can just barely hear you though, so I'm gonna hop
Okay.
on my headset.
Cool.
Oh goodness. This is ridiculous. I'm on my phone this time, so hopefully it'll be an asshole to me.
Okay. Well, it's going good so far.
Uh, all right. Let's see if I can hear you better now.
Sure. How's that sounding?
Uh,
Still quiet?
it's still coming over the phone instead of the Bluetooth. What the fuck?
Did you not pair it or something? Or?
No, it's paired.
Huh. That's weird.
It's even showing on the screen as being connected and said connected in my ear, and yet your voice
But
is
it's
still
not coming
over
through.
the phone.
That's so bizarre. Oh man.
What the shit? This is dumb. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I mean, I can hear you. Geez, if there's some way that you could hear us better, like the book and myself better, then we'd be set to go.
I'm gonna check the settings here and see if I can at least make some changes here. Well, it's only giving me the option for default audio output and not the option to kick it over to Bluetooth.
Yeah. Thanks, James. I'm getting Trisha's voice pretty loud and clear too. It's just that she can't hear us.
I
Or
can just
myself.
barely hear you. You're super quiet.
Okay, I'm gonna try
Oh,
and play
there we
the chapter. Is that better?
Yeah. I don't know if
Okay,
you
cool.
turned up your volume on
I just leaned
Restream,
in
but
closer.
okay.
I just leaned in.
I
Yeah. So
I can hear you all right now.
I guess I will stay at this distance, and I guess y'all at home will have to adjust your speakers accordingly.
Thank you. I
All right.
appreciate it. Mine
No
is
problem.
damn near done.
So we were just discussing these basically peasants, these serfs in New York right before the Revolution, and how their desperation was also used against them to push them to go to war against the crown. And I was kind of trying to draw a parallel between those sorts of feelings and what I saw uh, during the 2016 election. A lot of the people that went with Trump just wanted something different. So he was basically saying, I'm gonna bring change. Um, for whatever reason, he was seen as an outsider, even though he was, multimillionaire, obviously in bed with all of the wealthy politicians his whole life, um, sometimes literally, and
Sadly for them.
yeah. So he was kind of making them the same bargain. He's like, hey, what do you got to lose? But in the end, he was doing it. He was just using them to gain more power for himself, just as the revolutionaries during the Revolutionary War were using the poor to gain more power for themselves, because nothing really changed for those serfs after the war. They just became, I mean, they still were just tenant farmers, owed everything to their landlord, and never had any hope of a good life or really accumulating much power or wealth of their own. So, all right, let's get back into the chapter then.
The Rensselaerwick holding was 1 million acres. Tenants, claiming some of this land for themselves, unable to get satisfaction in the courts, turned to violence. In Poughkeepsie, 1,700 armed tenants had closed the courts and broken open the jails, but the uprising was crushed. During the Revolution, there was a struggle in Dutchess County over the disposition of confiscated Loyalist lands, but it was mainly between different elite groups. One of these, the Poughkeepsie Federalists, Opponents of the Constitution included men on the make, newcomers in land and business. They made promises to the tenants to gain their support, exploiting their grievances to build their own political careers and maintain their own fortunes. During the Revolution, to mobilize soldiers, the tenants were promised land. A prominent landowner of Dutchess County wrote in 1777 that a promise to make tenants freeholders, quote, would instantly bring you at least 6,000 able farmers onto the field, unquote. But the farmers who enlisted in the Revolution and expected to get something out of it found that, as privates in the army, they received $6.66 a month, while a colonel received...
Very, very ominous. Oh boy, I'm getting an echo from you now, Trisha. I don't know.
I'm trying again.
much.
I said I found another spot in the settings that
Cool.
Gave me the option to switch it, but for some reason they connected to my laptop this time. That would explain
Oh,
it.
weird. Oh.
Um,
Oh. So it's connected to your laptop instead of your phone.
Yep. Yep, and I started Shameless playing. That's what I was watching earlier, and I'm like, wait a fucking minute, that's not the right audio.
Yeah, I just thought I'd
Oh.
switch things up and we watched Shameless for the whole couple of hours.
Right.
Oh no, oh, we're getting a
Here goes,
bad
right?
signal again.
Oh, shit. Used to be. Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cutting out a whole bunch. I think it's just hanging on by a thread at this point. Yeah, looks 0-10 connection. Oh man. Well, now it's back.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Not sure what changed, but it looks like it worked.
Okay, this is weird. Now it's putting my audio input like through this mic on the headset,
Uh-huh.
but your audio is still coming through the phone speakers.
Oh, that's so bizarre.
Yeah. What the fuck? Oh my god, I'm sorry. This is fucking
Yeah, like usually if anything it'd be the other way around. That's so weird.
right? Right? Like the whole fucking point is because I'm trying to get the audio to come through to me in my ear.
You're right.
Ah, this is dumb. Oh my god. Okay, and it's not letting me shift anything else in the settings here either. This stuff. Okay, fuck it. I give up. But at least you can hear me without feedback with that on. But I'll just have to leave the earbuds on
Yes,
so I can
yes.
hear you.
Oh. Okay. I guess that'll have to work.
Right? Get her done however we can.
All right, so they were saying that farmers that enlisted in the Revolutionary Army got $6.66 a month. Kind of a bizarre number to land on, but okay. And then we're going to hear about what a colonel got by comparison.
received $75 a month.
$75
They
a
watched local
month.
government contractors like Melancton Smith and Matthew Peterson become rich while the pay they received in continental currency became worthless with inflation. All this led tenants to become a threatening force in the midst of the war. Many stopped paying rent. The legislature, worried, passed a bill to confiscate Loyalist land and add 400 new freeholders to the 1,800 already in the country. This meant a strong new voting bloc for the faction of the rich that would become anti-federalists in 1788. Once the new landholders were brought into the privileged circle of the Revolution and seemed politically under control, Their leaders, Melancton Smith and others, at first opposed to the adoption of the Constitution, switched to support. And with New York ratifying, adoption was ensured. The new freeholders found that they had stopped being tenants, but were now mortgagees, paying back loans from banks instead of rent to landlords.
Funny how that works, isn't it?
Right.
Instead of just paying rent, now you have debt, which is like rent plus you'll never pay it off. So,
Yep, that's capitalism for you.
yeah, so fun. Yeah.
Also, I'd
So,
like to take a moment to point out, like, they felt this injustice at that time when the wealthy were making about 11 to 12 times as much money as they were a month.
mhm.
Right now, that's exponentially fucking higher. Of
Oh
that
yes.
disparity, between. I mean, we've got fucking CEOs paying themselves thousands of dollars an hour. We've got owners
Mhm.
such as Jeff Bezos and the Walton family paying themselves. I believe the Waltons each of them, mind you, individually make around $87,000.
Oh, everything just froze. Try again.
Um,
Oh,
but
there you are.
what I was saying is,
So you're saying
yeah.
the Waltons get
I loop out the fucking. The last time I looked, it was around like $87,000 a minute that each of them
a
earns.
minute.
And Bezos is only beating them by a little bit.
Ah.
I'm ready to tuck my fucking phone through the window.
Oh, I hear
But
ya.
that would just cost me a lot of money for a window. If I remember right, Bezos is topping shit out at around like $93,000 or $94,000 a minute. And James, I'm not sure about Elon. I'd have to look his shit up. But yeah, incredible fucking wealth disparity there. That they don't even want to pay employees that much a year, and that's how much they're taking for themselves.
Oh,
per
I know.
minute.
I know. And just to think, every single store they go into, every minute they could afford to pay the entire year's salary by, many times of every single employee they walk past. Yep. And you're frozen. God damn. I think we may just have to call this one for tonight. Maybe we'll just look up something different for now, and we'll return to this because we're just not making any headway. Should we try this another time, Trisha? I'm gonna message you directly over Facebook. No. Oops. I'm just gonna message Trisha, and maybe we'll switch it over to something else. See if she gets that. All right. You know what? I think we're just gonna switch gears here. So I feel bad that she keeps cutting out here. So let's figure out something else to watch for tonight. I guess we should find something first, and then at that point we will decide what we're going to talk about. Let's see. What's in the news recently? Ooh, watch some Jordan Peterson. That's always a fun time. Alright, let's see what we can find. Jordan Peterson, let's see what kind of crap he's saying today. Alright, so we're gonna call it for doing the people's history. Trisha said that she's not even able to reconnect at this point. We'll just do random videos, kind of whatever I feel like then. So we'll just change it to that. Random vids. If you guys have anything you want me to watch, let me know. We'll just make it kind of a more of a low-key stream. Alright. Although, hey, that gives me something good to... Oops. To go check out. Yeah, off topic is still topic. James had asked, what does Elon make per minute? Let's look up that. That'll be a fun rabbit hole, I'm sure. Oh, per second even. Okay, so this is as recently as April. And now he might be getting sued by Twitter. So they may take a significant chunk, or they may only get the 1 billion that I think was the penalty for backing out of the deal, because he is backing out of that deal to buy Twitter now. So yeah, if you were hoping he was going to be the free speech warrior, standing up for the public square of our modern digital age, then I guess you're gonna be sad, because he's backing right out like the LARPer that he is. So anyway, back in April, so this was back when it was announced, the $4.4 billion deal. Let's see. I'm gonna have to do a search to that. Alright, let's see. So he makes $375 per second. It's equivalent of 298 pounds. So he could give 33 pounds, which would be a little bit more in dollars, to every person on Earth and still have money left for himself. That's disgusting. Yeah, he sure is a douchebag. We could look at some Elon Musk stuff. He's been a little bit more quiet since backing out of the Twitter deal. Let's look at Jordan Peterson. What is he? Oh my goodness. 3 hours ago. Why should you go to church? Let's check this out. He's got the dramatic lighting. He's got the boom microphones. I don't even know who's being interviewed by. But this should be This should be some interesting stuff. Tell you what. I'm going to change my subtitles. Otherwise, well, actually, no, we don't have to. We don't have to do that at all. Why should you go to church, according to Jordan B. Peterson? Not to be confused with Jordan C. Peterson, who nobody knows. Share that screen there. Make it big and bold. Let's hear it. Why should you go to
Why
church?
do people go to church? Because that's what's going
Well, and
on.
why should they?
Right.
Because that's a discussion. So Jonathan took me to an Orthodox ceremony in Seattle.
Why is it
and,
quiet all of a sudden?
Like I wasn't into it. I found it grated on me.
You're like a 10-year-old boy that we're telling to stop
Yeah,
moving.
Yeah,
Stop-
that's right.
stop-
So that was my Freudian fixations. Like, yeah, you're 10.
Stop wiggling.
Yeah, stop wiggling. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. But, there's been a lot of water under the bridge since then, man. And I went to an Orthodox
is so
mass
bizarre.
here a couple of weeks ago, and I found it and a Catholic one a week before that. I was down at Franciscan University, and I found it unbelievably soothing, which is very much unlike the reactions I've had before. And that was partly, well, for complicated reasons, because I actually find any place that isn't a bloody nightmarish catastrophe soothing now. And so,
Yeah, I'm sure it's a real hell world that old JP lives in. Having millions of dollars, millions of fans, people that still, for some reason, hang on his every word. Wow, what a nightmare. I mean, I guess he did well, not technically get banned from Twitter. He refused to delete a tweet, and then maybe he ended up deleting it anyway, and so maybe he's not banned. But yeah, the world's all against men like good old JP there.
I mean that, man. But there was more to it than that, too. It was because I also did develop, and partly as a consequence of our discussions, deeper
Oh, what's with the
appreciation
volume here?
for
It's going
what
crazy.
was happening in the ritual itself, and also more tolerance for whatever inadequacies I might perceive. And partly that's also realization. Lots of modern people say, "Well, I don't go to church because I don't believe that." It's like, well, who cares what you believe? Like, who?
Oh, off to a good start. I don't believe in your church. I don't believe in the things they teach. Well, who cares? Go to it anyway. That's not the reason you go to church. Wow. Some big brain stuff there. Who cares what you believe? Just go to church. Forehead. Wow.
Who the hell are you, anyways? Like, and why do you even care what you believe? And
Why would you talk to them if you don't care what they believe and who they are? Like, who is this imaginary person that he's conceived of?
how's that working for you? This belief set that you theoretically have how sophisticated is that? Like, are you Plato or what? It's like, well, here's the church and here's me and I'm right. It's like,
Well, what if you just believe in a different church or a different religion altogether? That's either you're setting yourself up as Plato, which I guess he means is like you're the smartest human of your day, and you're just above and beyond the brain capacity of the church, or you're not, and then you should go to church. I'm still losing that thread, man.
well, no, you're not. And first, and second, you don't even want to be, because
Are the people in the church Plato? Like, is there some bishop or head of any given church? Are they the Platos of their day? Like, what a strange standard to set up and then knock down.
that's a great place to be, like pinnacle of brilliant wisdom. It's completely solipsistic. No tradition for me, thank you very much. I've got it all right in my head. And even if you are,
Oh, I see. So it's just you go to church because of tradition. Because I guess your family has a tradition of going to church. But again, what if they have a tradition of going to a different religious place of worship? Should you just go to that one instead? Like, we're just gonna go straight to appealing to tradition here. Um, okay, so it says even if you got it right in your head.
Are right that the bloody institution is chaotic and decadent in some fundamental sense. It's like, well, good. There's something for you to do, like there always has been throughout the entire history of mankind, because that's Osiris, right?
That's Osiris, right? What the hell? Wait, I gotta see where this thread goes.
The once great king who's fallen into disrepair. It's like, well, if the church is broken and you're the genius to see it, why don't you go fix it? Well,
What if the church just thinks you should be dead? What if something about you or your lifestyle or their perceived or their perception of what your lifestyle is, but something just about your identity offends them so much that they think you should be dead, or at least shouldn't be in their church? What if they cast you out of their church as a heretic? Like, there's so many questions here about why. And you should go to church because if it's broken, you have something to do to fix it. What if you don't care about fixing the church? What if that's not your life's work, to rail against a giant bureaucracy for an institution that whose views you disagree with from the get-go? Are there people that listen to this and they're like, oh yes, now I've seen the light and I'm going to go to church?
well, then you might say, well, we'll just abandon it. It's like, okay, well, fine. You're going to get rid of that, eh? You're going to get rid of marriage. You're going to get rid of funerals. You're going to get rid of...
We can do marriage and funerals without a church. We do it now. My wife and I got married by a justice of the peace. No church involved. In fact, the first time I got married, we just had a friend of ours get ordained in that online, one click here, hey, you're a minister sort of thing. And he performed the ceremony. You can do that, and like, same thing with funerals. They don't have to take place in churches. There are funeral homes and other halls you could rent out to have funerals and wakes and I mean, you don't even have to go down to an actual graveyard. But both my grandparents who passed recently were cremated, and their ashes mixed with the soil of a tree that was planted in their honor in a city park. Had a whole big ceremony just on our own with no members of the clergy involved. It was pretty nice and moving and much more intimate than just some, just some holy people that you've never interacted with in your entire life, pretending that they knew your loved one well and trying to console you. Because I've been through those sorts of funerals too. My ex-wife, when her father passed away, he was a Jewish man. He had not been to temple in decades, probably. He had no relationship, but somehow some family members pulled strings, and they got a rabbi to come and perform I guess that would be the funeral itself, I suppose. Like, I don't know what the name for the different ceremonies are, but anyway, he came and he made up this entire bullshit story about, oh, I knew Howard well, and he, all he wanted at the end of his life was just a piece of herring and some bagel, and that's all he wanted. What a simple man, what a great man. It's like, I mean, the guy had never met my ex-wife's father. Obviously, the man did not eat fish. He did not eat bagels. So it was obviously a story that he had just made up on the spot to comfort us. But yeah, it was not a great experience because no one really that talked, aside from his children, knew a damn thing about him or had much of a reason to be there. And it just ended up emphasizing the sadness of it more than anything. So contrast that to my grandfather, who was a Lutheran pastor, very intimately connected to religion and Christianity and church and stuff like that. But I mean, partially because it was COVID, we didn't have a large funeral. There was no church involved. There was no clergy involved. We just got together with his widow, who passed on very recently herself, and we put his ashes. We took turns scooping it into a hole for a tree, and yeah, mixing it with the tree soil and saying some nice memories about him. And this was just his loved ones. There was no outside person involved, so it made it much more intimate and much nicer. So, tying this back to Jordan Peterson here, we don't need the church for any of that shit. All of life's rituals, births, marriage, death, all that stuff can be conducted in a secular and yet entirely meaningful way. So he's just bullshitting here. This stupid ass. He looks like. There was like a period in the 90s where every major pop singer had to have one of those sort of boom mics. I distinctly remember like Janet Jackson having it. Like, why do you need that stuff now today? You can have a lapel mic that blends in with your clothing, but here he is sitting with this dumbass boom mic and his alligator socks, telling us we have to have the church, otherwise there's going to be no more weddings and funerals.
At Christmas, you're going to get rid of any sense.
Christmas. I celebrate Christmas, and I am a non-religious person. I would wager at least half the people that celebrate Christmas are not religious. Don't go to church on a regular basis. Maybe go to church, Christmas, maybe on Easter, but that would be about it for most people. It is a very secularized holiday, and people get different things out of it. This is silly. You can have holidays without, the holiness attached to it. There's such thing as secular holidays.
Of sacred time. You're going to dispense with the whole history of what Judeo-Christian thought. You're going to dispense with.
If you don't go to church, you're doing away with the entirety of Judeo-Christian thought. You're just throwing it all out the window and just winging it. Because it's all or none. You have to either be 100% into the church, which branch of Christianity? Because there's got to be at least 100 of them. Which branch in particular is the one that is, the keeper of Judeo-Christian thought? I would love to know his answer to that, because I don't think there is one.
The idea of the sacred nature of the individual, like, how far are you willing to go with this? And believe me,
too much emphasis on the individual. It's very disempowering, and it goes very well with the capitalist ideal, because capitalists want us to all be atomized and separated, so that we can be better controlled. There's no such thing as a union of one. So of course they every time a union drive comes to a workplace, they're like, oh, we'd like to deal with you guys one-on-one. Aren't you more powerful just advocating for yourself and stuff? No, absolutely not. That's pretty tried and tested and found to be true, that collective organizing is the only effective way to organize in a workplace. So yeah, we've gone way too far with this individualism, and I'm only in it for myself. I don't care about the greater whole, and I don't understand how that even squares with this idea of having a body of Judeo-Christian thoughts. Because to me that says that's like gesturing towards something greater than yourself, right? And the entire idea of church is supposed to be something greater than yourself, and yet at the same time he's advocating for the absolute individual, out there fighting their own way through the world and their life. These two ideas are incongruous in my mind, or incongruent.
question is right in front of you, because there's a wave of radicals who are asking you at every moment, What makes you so sure that there's a difference between a man and a woman? Like, no, there isn't. Or the yes, there is when we want there to be, and no, there isn't when we don't want there to be.
Same thing is true for the right, though. Like, if you ever ask someone on the right their own stupid bullshit gotcha questions, they can't really answer it either. Ask a conservative, what is a woman? That's what he's getting at. What is a woman? And then they'll give you a definition. You'll say, okay, well, what about someone with, XY chromosomes who presents as female? What about someone who has, one ovary and one testicle? Any number of just technical cases where it's not as cut and dry. Oh, well, these are 0.001% of the population. Well, they're still people. So if you want to have a very clear cut and dry definition, you still have to accommodate them. But fine. Moving on from there, in sports, women who were cis women born assigned female at birth and by any measure, you could look at their chromosomes or their DNA or whatever you want to look at, their bone density, and you can make all those tests. And yet some women have just produce extra testosterone above and away from what normal women produce. And they have determined that this should disqualify them from being able to compete in women's sports. I think unless they get some sort of hormone blocker. So it's kind of the inverse of the thing that they're always squawking about. But if they have to take hormone blockers in order to compete as a woman, well, I mean, if they don't qualify, are they not a woman? And you can keep going on. You can get to the point where you say, well, what does it even matter what they are genetically or by any of your other standards if they present in a certain way and they want to be viewed in a certain way? Why can't you just honor that? It's not that confusing. They tell you right out, and if you make it a mistake, they can gently correct you as long as you're not a dick about it. And what's wrong with that? Just letting people live their lives, even if you don't personally think that they're a woman. Does it really take that much from you to, use the name that they give you? Are you just going to make up a male name if you see a trans woman and you disagree that they should be considered a woman? Are you just going to make up a male name if you don't know what their name that they had at birth was? Like, how far does it go for you? Like this, he sits there and asks like this is such an easy thing to decipher for his side, but it never is.
You saw that with the Supreme Court appointment. It's like, we have to have a woman, but there's no such thing as a woman.
No one says there's no such thing as a woman. There wouldn't be trans people who are identifying as women when they were assigned male at birth. If there was no difference. No one's saying there's no differences. Well, what we are saying is that those differences are very individual. So here's a case where individually this is going to be different for. Whoops! Didn't mean to hit that chord there. No, I've gone and tipped it all the way. All right, that's better. We're just saying that we don't want to have these rigid bounds of what a woman can be, and that people can make up their own minds about what it is to be a woman. Anyone who identifies as a woman can be a woman, and that's all we're trying to say here. What is a woman? Someone who identifies as such. It's pretty simple. What does that end up meaning? What characteristics are those? Going to vary wildly, person to person. It's not just going to be, a circular Venn diagram of, everyone's definition of what that is, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be scary. It just is what it is. And if you feel scared, you can always ask people and risk feeling embarrassed or looking like you don't know what's going on. I don't think that's worse than, you know, standing there just being confused and getting more and more angry because you refuse to put yourself out there at all and ask a question that might make you look foolish. So again, there is such a thing as a woman. It's just that that definition is going to vary often widely from person to person. And that's okay.
It's like, and so, yeah, you Frenchmen, you know, you've abandoned your Catholicism. You think the Catholics, they were crazy. It's like, you ain't seen nothing yet. And so I believe, and Jung kind of convinced me of that. He more or less posited, and you could say the same thing about Orthodox. He said, Catholic is as sane as people ever get. And that's partly because we have to have one foot in the dream and the mystery. We have to. You know, when I heard...
This is just psychobabble word salad. Catholic is as most sane as you can get because we have to have one foot in the dream? In the mystery? What in the hell does that mean? He just puts it out there as though it's, you know, the tritest of truisms that you've ever heard. We have to have one foot in the dream and the mystery. That makes us sane. Ah, clearly this is just a linear thought pattern, you know, A eventually arriving at Z. Not just a mishmash of words plucked out of the air to seem much more intelligent than one is. No, couldn't possibly be that. That was a sentence, man. And he's just going to move on as though that was nothing. He's not going to explain what the hell that means. We have to have one foot in the dream. What even does that part of the sentence mean? In the mystery? Well, what? Catholics, they love mystery and they love dreaming. That's one thing we know about them.
Douglas Murray speak recently about this. That was very interesting because Murray is an atheist, essentially, and he has a variety of reasons for that. But he found hard recently, and he said, when he was talking to Dave Rubin, he said, I don't believe that either conservatism or classic liberalism can survive in the absence of the religious surround, which was really something for him.
I mean, just saying. It sounds like maybe a good reason to turn away from religion then. If these sorts of institutionalized ways of connecting to some sense of spirituality are undergirding conservatism and classical liberalism, which there's not much of a difference between those two, if any, then yeah, let's get rid of it then. That sounds like a good reason to do so. We don't need those ways of thinking. They are not helping us. They are not just they're not the yang to our yin or the yin to our yang. They're not really telling us anything of value. They're just trying to get power and trying to hurt people and stuff things back once they've been let out of the bottle. And if they don't go willingly, then they use violence to try and accomplish that. But let's see where he's going with this.
For him to admit. And it's like taken him like 5 years of thinking to come to that conclusion. But then he said,
oh my God, 5 years of thinking to realize that established religion is in league with establishment ways of thinking politically. That took 5 years. Wow, he sounds like a real super genius we have on our hands.
More remarkable, I thought. And he said, and it's actually the mysterious part of it that has to be retained. The virgin birth, the resurrection, the crucifixion.
Oh, so by mysterious part, he means the part that we can never question. We just have to take on faith. Because if we ever questioned it, then we might stop believing it. Cool.
All of that crazy mythology, let's say, because otherwise it just degenerates into another form of cheap social justice. And like, don't we have enough of that?
No. No, we don't. In fact, we're rolling all of that back presently. Probably with you cheering it on at the same time, it seems. So, no. Oh, hello. You gonna come on? You gonna come yell at Jordan Peterson with me?
Yeah, stupid.
Do you want to hear a sentence that he just said out of his real life mouth?
Oh boy. Sure.
Catholics are the most sane because we have to always have one foot in the dream, in the mystery.
One more time?
Catholics are the most sane because we always have to have one foot in the dream, in the mystery. Yeah, I dare you to diagram that sentence and make it make sense. And he just skimmed right over that afterward. He just went on to some other guy who spent 5 years coming to the conclusion that without religion, conservatism and classical liberalism, same thing, won't survive.
What a pity.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's like, are you making an argument to get rid of religion? So that's what you're coming in on. This is Jordan Peterson's brand new video. He put it out like 30 minutes ago. Do you want to get a chair?
I just realized it's in that other room.
Oh,
I gotta pause a minute. I like this.
okay. Do you want headphones or?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if they'll reach far enough.
Just
You're sitting all the way on the bed.
It's cute. It's on brand for me.
Yeah.
Tell James I'm looking for a good pizza roll recipe.
And okay. So for myself and what I believe, I'm not against religion. I think it's fine if people want to believe in a religion.
Sure, but you should be able to ask. Actually, I'm gonna go get the chair because now I'm getting pissed.
Okay. That's totally fine. And
The problem with religion is that people are not allowed to ask questions. The second you start asking questions is when they start getting itchy, and then that's when they bolt. And that to me says bullshit, because if you can't ask questions to understand something, questioning is to gain better understanding or to gain clarification.
yeah,
Right? In most cases.
which is perhaps why Judaism has lasted what I think it's up to 6,000 years now. I don't know what year it is in the Jewish calendar, but Judaism is all about asking questions and questioning those questions, and then you have all sorts of different schools of thought, and yet they only have about 3, maybe 4 different official sects of Judaism. Somehow it hasn't just splintered every time, because that's what happens with Christianity. Because you cannot ask questions, because there's always something that's taboo about questioning the official orthodoxy of this or that thing. Every time someone asks the question and just cannot get it out of their mind, they either leave the church or they leave the church and take a bunch of people with them and start their own church. And so now we have, 200, 300, 400 branches of Christianity, some of which think other branches are not true Christians. I think most would think a lot of other branches are not true Christians.
Christians aren't even true Christians, because
Well, yeah.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah.
you don't want to open that because you can't put it back. Hey, kids.
So anyway, what do I feel about religion? It's totally fine. If you want to live your life with some higher purpose, believe in a higher meaning, that's totally fine. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not a what is known in the skeptical community as a positive atheist. I'm not going to say for sure that God doesn't exist or any particular religion is wrong, or that spirituality is wrong, or any of that stuff. I'm not going to say that there's no supernatural, because I just don't know. I would, in some ways, I would prefer to live in a world that some of that stuff was true, that there was more to life than just a random occurrence of atoms that somehow a lonely corner of the universe just one day woke up and started experiencing itself and
Or
just
maybe
keeps on going.
the
'Cause-
ghosts were real.
Or maybe ghosts are real. Yeah, maybe there is more than we can see. I'm not going to say for sure or not either way, but it would be interesting to find out that there is something that just cannot be explained by any sort of science. So that's what I'll say about what I
But
wrote.
again, that could be questioned, and that's okay.
But yeah, I mean that's how I got to the position I'm at now, is just by asking questions. So that's totally fine. And, even if we were just in a completely, there's only matter and energy. That's all that exists in the universe. Um, Everything can be explained. Uh, there's, to me, still purpose and wonder, and I would still have a feeling of connection to all living things that would approach on the spiritual or the religious. What are you tapping me for?
I wanted to share some stuff.
Oh, okay. You go ahead now.
You know what I think could be like a church? Like a good church, like
What's
a
that?
truly good church?
What's that?
Nature.
Sure.
It accepts everyone. It provides for everyone, everything. No judgment. Is what it is.
Yeah. You bring up something that I was thinking about even today. And I think it's something that these just hardcore atheists fail to recognize most of the time. And that's they believe that religion is mostly just an explainer and a tool of control. Those are the two functions of it. It explains, oh, why is the sky blue? Oh, it's because God did it. Why does it rain? It's because God's doing it.
Because God's
And whenever you
because
come
he's
to a point where
embarrassed
you
about
don't
what
have an
did.
answer, you can just fill it in with God, and that's your explanation. So there's that part of it. And then there's the part of control where, like, you can make certain things taboo, you can make certain things compulsory and stuff like that. It can be a system of control. So there's that part of it too. But what I don't think they understand is that religion or a spiritual community or whatever you want to call it can also be something that just roots people in place and kind of grounds them into a real connection. I feel that more than anything, people are lacking connection in this world.
Well,
Um, that goes beyond just, we have so many more technological devices, yet we're more and more disconnected than we ever have. I think there's something deeper to it. It's just people have lost a sense of being connected to the world around them, the living things around them.
but that's just it. Like, I know for me personally, having anxiety, I mean, not actually diagnosed, but I'm fairly certain that time I spend in nature on a hike helps me come down,
Yeah.
helps me recenter, but like takes all the distractions and pressures away that
Yeah.
my reality gives me.
Right. So
It's-
it brings you back
It's
into
sanctuary.
it roots you to a
Fun.
place, to a feeling, to a community of life that otherwise it's harder to feel. And I think that's kind of it. That's why just saying, I mean, there is no God, there is no spirituality, there's none of this stuff. This is all just hocus pocus. What that does is it rips people's grounding and a big part of their identity away, and offers nothing in return to replace it with, and so people feel unmoored, and it's why people a lot of times end up just hating atheists or just thinking they're obnoxious, malcontents who just have to keep questioning and have to keep questioning. They can't just be content in their world, because they're not offering anything in place of that. Because it's hard to make a community out of just your shared unbelief. To make a community, to make connections, you have to have something in common, some common purpose, some common reason for coming together, some way to relate to one another.
Like nature is alive, and all of the things in the forest are alive except for the rocks
Yeah,
and
I mean,
whatnot. but I am also alive.
Yeah, and you know, and nature is important. It's kind of our life support system, and in order for us to care about it, maybe a lot of people have to have assign some sort of spirituality to it. You know, they have to assign something even higher to it in order to have that caring. And as I've talked about many times, you can throw as many facts and as much logic as people as you at people as you want. Yeah, facts don't care about your feelings, but they also don't make you feel. They can't make you feel anything. Facts can't make you care about anything. Just cold hard facts and logic and all that stuff. You could get the at the end of your, you know, doctoral level dissertation on why you should care about the climate and climate change and the future of the planet and stuff like that. And someone could get up and just say, "Well, I don't care about any of that. Let it burn. The world sucks. Fuck them all." Um, you cannot make people care. You cannot force them to care. The best you can do is
Share
offer a
information.
connection. You know, whether that connection, whether you use beauty or art as a conduit to help make that connection between each other and between the thing that we're wanting people to care about, or you know, music or any other sort of way that's not just, you know, here are the facts and here's the logic behind it. Um, to me, that's the only way to really be effective in getting in convincing more people to care. It's not just going to come from endless discussion. We have not done the geocaches yet, James. I know you suggested that before, and it sounds like fun, but we just we're more concerned with just getting in a hike every weekend at this point. So we're not quite that hardcore yet.
Hey.
We're building up to it.
I consider myself pretty. Now that I have my tools.
Yeah, she
Hey.
got some hiking poles that are pretty cool, and they work
Hey.
really well.
You know what? Just for all you folks out there that are watching right now, if you think hiking poles are dorky, you can go suck a lemon, because I'm telling you, whether you have one or you have two, it gains you a level of control and offers you a support that you may not have normally had before. Like, the first couple of times we'd hiked and I had no poles, my back was killing me.
Yeah,
I was having a really
having
hard
to pause
time
a lot. Yeah.
with like up and down.
Mm-hmm.
But with my poles, I can do anything.
Yeah, and we had what, over 100 feet of elevation change at our last hike.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the Taylor's Falls area. There's a state park called Interstate Park.
Favorite hike in
It's
Minnesota
been one of our
so
best
far.
so far.
It is my favorite.
We've been trying to get to as many state parks as possible. We got to most of the ones that are really close by, and so our last one that we got, we're collecting stickers to put on our car too, to, you know, have a little keepsake of the places we've been.
Also, it's gonna help Hassan identify me as a crazy.
That's a sidebar, but apparently Hassan Biker believes that the more stickers you have on your car, the crazier of a person you are, and then you just should not be listened to at all. But that's his prejudice, and that's his thing to deal with.
I'm gonna show him it. The not all sticker
Anyway,
collectors.
coming back to it. I was making a point with all that.
Oh.
I was trying to actually say something, not just rail on Hassan for his prejudices. But this last one we went to was really cool. It had a bunch of stairs and rocks you could climb and stuff like that. There were like people doing, you know, rock face climbing and stuff like that too. We're not that
I don't have
hardcore
that
yet,
physique.
but maybe someday. Yeah,
Oh,
neither of us
you
are
can.
built for rock climbing. But that's beside the point. There was a lot of elevation changes and tricky stuff, and it really did help to have the poles. And yeah, it was a good time. I'm sure they do have geocaches, but we just have not looked into that yet. We're building up our endurance, and you did really well this last time. Like, you know, didn't tire at all and powered through it, even though we were going up and down all those trails and stuff. And they have these really cool, what do they call them? Glacier potholes?
Yeah.
Like the glacier glacial river that cut through, I guess it was granite, to form the river. Uh, there'd be these eddies at the bottom of the river, and so they'd swirl around, and sometimes stones would get caught in them, and they just endlessly twist in the eddy, and eventually they'd bore these long pipes down into the solid rock, and now the river has lowered considerably since that point. So you get to see all these remnants of glacier potholes and stuff like that. Some of them are flooded, some of them are not. It's a really cool place geologically, Interstate Park in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I appreciate that suggestion, James. Thank you. All right, let's get back into the big brain boys. Let's see what else they have to say.
And I think that's, now I don't know what to make of that because, well, and that's why we have the discussion continually about the, what would you say? Well, the transcendent, I suppose, the miraculous, the transcendent, the idea of the resurrection, for example, and all of that. It's like, well, what do you do with that? And the answer is, we don't know, but we don't throw it out without having some sense of what's going to come in to replace it. And we're seeing that now. You know, look at us. We're so confused. No bloody wonder the Russians are at war with us. It's like,
there was so many levels of stupid in that last sentence. No wonder the Russians are at war with us. When did Russia? I must have missed that. Did they just send it out in a tweet or something? Oh, by the way, we are at the war with you. Oh, you're on your social media. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Did you know that we are at war with Russia, according to Jordan Peterson?
I don't care what Jordan Peterson has to say. Almost did not call him correctly.
No wonder the Russians are at war with. This is kind of an offshoot of his latest brain dead argument that somehow Russia was going to war with Ukraine to stop the left's infiltration of wokeism and leftism into Ukrainian culture, and then through them into Russia somehow. Even though Ukraine had like an entire fascist battalion that it supported, and a lot of very corrupt leaders in the recent past who are themselves pretty right-leaning and all this stuff, and that by any measure it's not at all a woke country, somehow JP is trying to float that idea that that was somehow the cause of them trying to invade Ukraine. Yeah. But now apparently we are at war with them. It's not just a proxy war. We're directly at war with them.
Oh, but we weren't getting involved.
Not
Don't
directly.
start none, won't be none.
we're not having anything to do with those people. They simultaneously proclaim that a woman is absolutely necessary for the highest position in the land, or one of them, and that the same person says, well, I don't even know what a woman is. It's like, well, are those people insane?
That lady did not say that the next Supreme Court justice had to be a woman. Biden just floated the idea because that's what liberals do. They play these identity politics games where it's just like it doesn't matter about the institution as long as we have a diverse group of faces that are represented in it.
Right. It's just what's the
Very
biggest,
superficial.
biggest collection of passive patties can we put together
Yeah.
for the fucking only position in which people are nominated into and can hold a lifelong appointment?
Right.
Like, why are you playing these kind of fucking games?
Well, it's like they want to have like a meritocracy so that there's truly is equal opportunity. No matter where you
But
come.
there's
Well,
not.
hold on.
No.
I want to say the whole statement
hang on.
first.
Oh, how about mansplaining?
I'm not mansplaining. I'm getting out an entire thought. Jeez.
Mansplaining.
They want to have a meritocracy so that anybody can get into these coveted positions, no matter what race or sexuality or background they have. but they don't want to do anything about changing the number of high-level spaces there are. So they're fine with meritocracy as long as the structure is still pyramidal, where there's a few people at the very top and the bulk of people near the bottom. So that's it. That's liberalism in a nutshell. So yeah, of course he wants to say, oh, the next one should be a woman, as though Amy Coney Barrett was such a great example of
She doesn't get to
how
be
great
part
it is
of
when
that.
a woman gets to be.
She doesn't get to be part of that group anymore. We had a meeting. We voted her out.
If only we could vote them out, we might actually have a semblance of a democracy. If we could vote for every branch of government, not just, two kind of.
Controversial opinions. Supreme Court shouldn't be a lifelong appointment.
No, definitely not. And it should not be
I
an
think
appointment
some
at
of
all.
these
It should be.
other
It
things
should be an election. It should be a national election,
are-
just like every other branch.
Yeah. Right, James. That's just it.
Yeah.
Rich white guy. Rich white guy.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. They don't want too much representation, just enough so that they can pat themselves on the back and pretend that they live in a better world than they do.
Well, we can't have women in charge because they're far too emotional, and is our spotlight star today has said we are chaos dragons,
Yeah.
and we thrive on that. But like,
because that's a real thing that psychologists say, is that women are chaos dragons.
let's just go there for a moment, though. No, like,
Okay,
people
let's
are
go to
afraid
chaos
to let
dragon.
women into positions of power.
Uh-huh.
Not like, I'm not okaying Joe Biden's like, oh, our next pick should be a woman. Like, okay, that's real cute, Joe. Pat, why don't you put a progressive in? Because that's what America actually wants and America actually needs. So if you really want to make a freaking difference, why don't you pick a progressive woman? Oh, right, you won't because you're scared.
Well,
And
you know.
I'm not.
Oh, I'm sorry. That sounded like the end of a sentence, but continue.
No, now I'm distracted, so you go.
It didn't seem like Ketanji Brown Jackson was not progressive, but it needs to be systemic change. So just having the right people in the right places is never going to be enough. Despite what J.K. Rowling would have you believe, it's not just about who occupies the positions of power. It's about how power is distributed, and how evenly and fairly it's distributed, and how much agency and autonomy people actually have in their average everyday lives. That's what matters more than who occupies a given seat.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Fine.
I'm just saying, ladies get a bad rap
They do.
because we are always accused of making decisions out of emotions. Well, shit. Brett Kavanaugh. Anybody recall anything about Mr. Kavanaugh? Because I certainly do.
Oh God, he was incredibly emotional.
And yeah, that's just it. Like, deep breath. Quit fucking labeling emotions pink emotions or blue emotions, because everybody has all of them.
Yeah.
Some people are better at dealing with something like anger in a more calm, socially acceptable way versus others who do not.
Well, and
Both male and female, and they, them, everybody falls into all places across the entire gamut or spectrum, whatever.
Yeah.
Fine, I'm just, whatever.
Yeah, you're right, and it's just that societally, some emotions are more accepted than others, especially depending on the emotion as assigned to a particular sex. Women are supposed to be, caring and they break down, crying, sad at every drop of a hat, and men are supposed to be angry or lustful, and that's about it. And but yeah, these are just societal pressures and expectations. They don't necessarily match up with people's innate emotional capacity or range.
Or one's ability to make decisions.
Yeah, that too. Because men make plenty of like I say quite a lot. Virtually every important decision you make is gonna have some emotion attached to it because you have to at least care. Eh, you have to care about doing something in order to do it. So if you care about something, that you're starting right away with an emotion. There's nothing that logically says you have to do this, that, or the other thing. Logic cannot tell you what to do. It can only tell you what to do if you care about X, Y, or Z outcome. That's the closest it can do to telling you what to do. But you have to start with the emotional impetus to go in a particular direction. All right, let's continue on with these clowns.
It's like, clearly, that's just way too far, right? Like, when I talk to my Democrat friends, I say, look, you can have one of those. You know, there's either no distinction between a man and a woman, or it's important that a woman's on the Supreme Court. But there's no bloody way I'm giving you both. So, because I don't even know how to do that. I have no idea how to do that. Like, what am I supposed to...
What the hell? No. Did I hear that correctly? That he's either going to accept either gender has a spectrum or a woman on the Supreme Court. Did I hear that correctly?
He says that if you say that there's no such thing as a woman, which he's starting with a straw man, no one says there's no such thing as a woman. People say that, you know, either it's rigidly defined as you know, penis or vagina, or it's whoever identifies as a woman. But he's saying if it's whoever identifies as a woman, then how can you possibly know if... How can you possibly say that there needs to be a woman on the Supreme Court? Well, again, that's not everyone that says that there needs to be a woman on the Supreme Court. It is the Democrats.
Maybe if the men that were there were making decisions based on all members of society and not just the top 1% of white men, maybe, just maybe, we wouldn't give a shit.
No. So what he's saying is if you cannot define what a woman is, if no one knows what the definition is, then there's no way to know whether or not there's a woman on the Supreme Court. Because gender is completely meaningless. It's meaningless terms. We can't assign it to anything. So then, of course, we cannot pick a woman because that term is meaningless. But it's all just a straw man based on the idea that some people are saying that there's no such thing as a woman, but no one is saying that. What we're saying, at least on the left, is that a woman is whoever defines themselves as a woman.
Right. It's a very loose term.
So, and the reason to have a variety of people in powerful positions is because it has been shown that their various backgrounds and experiences make the problem solving better. If everyone's just attacking the problem from the exact same angle because they've all been taught in the same way, they've all gone through the same experiences, and they just haven't had a wide band of possibilities presented to them at any time in their life, they're going to come up with a very much narrower range of solutions. Whereas if you have a people that come from diverse backgrounds, it's been found that they work together better as a team, and they solve problems better because they're pulling from a diversity of experiences that you don't get from homogenous groups. So that would be a reason to have a woman on the Supreme Court. But all of that just still ignores the systemic problem of having a Supreme Court that is able to just undo decades of laws and, you know, precedent on whims based on cherry-picked, shaky definitions and legal theories. They can just overturn it in a whim. I mean, the Supreme Court has always been the most reactionary, conservative arm of the government for a reason. It's not picked by the people. It's not accountable to the people in any meaningful way other than a very, obliquely, we have very indirect power over it by being able to elect a president who may or may not be in a position to appoint a new Supreme Court justice during their term. And even that all depends on the makeup of the Senate at the time. So if you have an opposing Senate, you're going to get, if anybody, a Supreme Court justice that's much more to the opposite party of the one that holds the presidency. That's a very conservative institution. So that is the main problem with the Supreme Court. Not that there's not enough women, not that there's not enough people of color. These are all fine things to have. Diversity is a fine thing to have. It does help. But more importantly is the spreading of power and the putting of power back into the hands of the people more directly. That's what would end up making more decisions. Because if that were the case, if we elected Supreme Court justices, then it wouldn't matter who's in power at the time. We would have a national election. And since issues such as Roe versus Wade are widely popular, we would be electing justices who follow that. Where are you going?
I'm going to brush my teeth. It's 9 o'clock, and you got this under control. You know,
What do you mean? What are you getting mad about?
I'm mad. It's just 9 o'clock.
Okay, I didn't realize it was 9 o'clock. I've been rambling on over this little video this whole time. So anyway, yeah, that's the problem. The problem is the power structure, not the makeup of the people. Not nearly as much the makeup of the people that hold the reins of power.
To do, celebrate womanhood, and simultaneously celebrate the fact that the differences between men and women are so trivial that they're irrelevant, and they can.
It's not that they're so trivial. It's that it's hard to nail down any one characteristic and say this applies to all women, especially when you get into things like, nurturing. You can say, oh, women are nurturers. Well, there's plenty of men that are nurturers just as much as women, and there are women that just are not nurturing does not come naturally to them either. There's no one characteristic that you could say this applies only to women and not to men, and have that be a cut and dry definition. So that's the thing. That's what they're trying to say, that there's a whole lot of overlap and a whole lot of diversity amongst women, to the point where trying to make statements like that, they end up breaking down very quickly, unless you're saying just in very broad terms. You could say in very broad terms, women tend to be more nurturing than men, and it's hard to know, even at that point, how much of that is just societal expectations and cultural programming and reinforcement through even advertising, stuff like that, and how much of that is just innate characteristics. How much is nature? How much is nurture? So it's hard to know. It's why you can't define what is women's clothing. You could say, well, it's skirts. Well, there's been plenty of cultures around the world that have, at various times, found it acceptable for men to wear skirts, or things that were like skirts, or things that have the same function as skirts. You can't say that. So, again, you can make broad claims. Women tend to wear skirts. People that identify as women tend to wear skirts. And that's about as precise a definition as you can ever hope to have. And that's what the left is actually driving at, is that it's hard to put things in these neat little boxes so that everything is discrete between the two main sexes in a what do they call it, a bimodal distribution, so that most tend to come in, most people tend to be male or female. That's bimodal. That that accommodates outliers, that recognizes that not all people are going to fall neatly into even those categories, just that most will.
Can be changed at whim. That is insane. It violates the law of non-contradiction. And so there's no, you think religious people are crazy.
That's it. That's it. This is the new Jordan Peterson. This is what we have to look forward to. Incoherent ramblings, word salad, and straw man. What an intellectual juggernaut the Daily Wire has latched themselves onto. I think this guy's going places. I'm going to do dislike just because I hope that Jordan Peterson sees that people dislike his video and he feels bad. So, that's a strange comment. Songs like this fill my soul with joy. It's not a song. They did no singing. What a strange thing. Jordan Peterson uncensored. Wow. On the Daily Wire. Alright, I think that's enough fooling around with random topics tonight. So I guess it just ended up being Jordan Peterson video. We'll change the title to that. So at least that's how it will show up on the YouTube. So we'll change the title there. I wish it would auto-update on places other than YouTube, but that's where the archives are. So if ever you wanna, if you ever miss a video and you wanna come back to it, that's the place to go. So let me share the link for the YouTube real quick, just so you can find my channel if this is not where you found it originally. Alright. Used to make it easier to share. Alright, well here's the Bread Theory archives. Maybe I'll clean this video up and make it into a more polished version, because we had a lot of technical difficulties early on. So I'll put up just the Jordan Peterson part later on when I get time, which who knows when that'll be. This Wednesday, gonna be trying to do trying finally to do Fascism with Umberto Eco. So tune in for that. 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, this Wednesday. Should be a good time. Stop sharing the screen there. To all of you who have held on through all the technical difficulties and all this stuff, I thank you. And yeah, have a good night. We don't have anyone to raid for Twitch right now. Let's see if I can at least shout somebody out. If you do check out their channel, appreciate you telling them that I sent you. Radical Maniac's pretty cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and shout out their channel right now. Yeah, it sounds like they're just having a very chill stream tonight. So go check out Radical Maniac. Tell them who sent you to. And then I'll see you all next time.